It was an ordinary morning, gray skies, damp pavement, and the quiet buzz of sleepy students. I was 15 then, a high school sophomore killing time with my friends before the first bell. We joked about trivial things, completely unaware of the nightmare waiting just moments away. When the warning bell rang, we split up for class. I didn't rush my teacher. Coach Thompson was laid back and never minded if I was a few minutes late. He usually started class late anyway, caught up in his duties as the school's sports coach. As I strolled through the now empty hallways, the second bell rang. Officially late. I didn't care. But then the intercom crackled. "Attention students and staff, the school is now under lockdown." "This is not a drill." I froze. "Lockdown? Why?" There were no sounds of chaos. No screaming. No alarms. Just eerie silence. I assumed it was a mistake or a drill. I kept walking. Then I turned into the hallway where my classroom was, and everything changed. At the far end stood a man. Not a teacher, not a student. He was tall, dressed all in black, wearing a ski mask and heavy combat boots. A massive duffel bag hung from his shoulder like it weighed nothing. He hadn't seen me yet. I froze, heart hammering in my chest. Then, as if in slow motion, he turned his head and saw me. Pure instinct kicked in. I ducked behind the corner, breath caught in my throat, adrenaline surging. My classroom was down that hallway, but I couldn't go there now. He was standing right outside it. My mind raced. I knew the school well. I sprinted down a side corridor and slipped into the nearest bathroom. I locked myself inside a stall and tried to control my breathing. I couldn't hyperventilate. Not now. For what felt like forever, I sat there, silent, motionless. Then footsteps. Heavy, deliberate, echoing. Getting closer. I clamped a hand over my mouth. The steps passed by. Whoever it was, maybe him, kept going. Silence returned. 30 agonizing minutes crawled by. Eventually I made a choice. I had to move. I crept out into the hallway. It was still too still. The lockdown was still in place. I headed back toward my classroom, cautiously, ready to run at the slightest sound. Then I heard it again. Footsteps, fast, behind me. I turned and there he was, the man in the ski mask, rounding the corner. I ran. I didn't look back. I just ran like my life depended on it. Because it did. My feet pounded the tile, echoing in my ears. I don't know how far I went before I stopped and realized he was gone. Ahead I saw light, daylight, the exit, and outside police. I bolted out the door. Relief hit me like a tidal wave. The officers waved me over, and I collapsed into safety. The intruder was caught. We never learned what he planned to do, but that day changed me forever. Even now, years later, I still hear those footsteps in my nightmare. It started like any other morning. I was 18, half awake in fourth period, counting the minutes until lunch. Then the intercom cracked to life. "Attention students and staff, this is a code red lockdown. Please follow procedures immediately." My heart plummeted. Whispers rippled through the classroom as our teacher ordered us into the corner. Lights off, door locked, blinds shut. The atmosphere thickened with dread and hushed confusion. We waited, minutes stretched into hours. No updates, just eerie silence. Some classmates whispered rumors. An intruder, maybe armed. One guy peeked through the blinds and swore he saw a man in a red sweatshirt walking the halls. Finally, the announcement came. The lockdown was over. Everyone flooded the halls, tense relief washing over us. I boarded the school bus home, shaken but grateful it was over. Or so I thought. As I stepped off the bus near my rural home, I noticed a car parked down the street. Not unusual, but something felt off. The engine idled. A figure sat inside, watching. I hurried inside, trying to shake the feeling, but the car didn't leave. From behind the curtain I peered out. Still there, a cold pit formed in my stomach. I called my parents, masking my unease. They were hours away. I didn't tell them about the car. I just hoped it would go, but it didn't. 10 minutes pass. I forced myself to watch TV, pretending everything was normal. Then a car door slammed. I froze, turned to the window. A man had exited the vehicle and was walking toward my front yard. He was wearing a red sweatshirt. I ducked, heart hammering, and bolted to my room, crawling under the bed like a child in a nightmare. Silence. Then a knock at my bedroom window. I nearly screamed. Fumbling, I dialed 911, whispering to the operator as I trembled beneath the bed. "There's a man outside my house. He knocked on my window. Stay on the line," the dispatcher told me. "Police are on the way." Minutes crawled by. Then came the sound of shattering glass from the back of the house. He was inside. Footsteps creaked. My breath caught. Then, sirens. The most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. The man scrambled back through the broken window as the police arrived. They caught him 2 houses over, hiding in a neighbor's yard. Later I learned he was the very same man who'd caused the lockdown at school. Somehow he'd slipped in that morning and escaped before anyone could find him. And then he came to my house. Why? I'll never know. Maybe it was random. Or maybe I was being watched long before that day. All I know is he found me. And I've never felt truly safe since. It was supposed to be an easy day. I had just finished covering a morning class when the front office radioed in, asking if I could fill in for a last-minute absence. Nothing unusual. Just a few students whose parents hadn't signed the permission slips for a field trip. 4 kids. 1 video. Some busy work. Simple. The classroom felt eerily quiet with just the 4 of them. I queued up a Mythbusters episode, handed out worksheets, and kicked back at the teacher's desk. A few minutes in, all 4 students raised their hands. "Bathroom break?" they asked in unison, practically bouncing. I chuckled and waved them off. "Don't take too long. We've got explosions to watch." They left. I paused the video. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. That's when the intercom crackled. "Attention staff and students. This is a code red lockdown. This is not a drill. Please follow lockdown protocols immediately." My heart dropped. I stood frozen at the door, peering down the hallway. Empty. The classroom was still unlocked. Lights still on. And my 4 students were still missing. Do I lock up and follow protocol? Or do I go after them? After a minute of hesitation, I grabbed my keys and stepped into the hallway, anxiety climbing my throat. The nearest bathroom was just around the corner. I rushed there, puffing from the effort. I knocked. "Hey, it's Mr. B. Are you in there? We're in lockdown. You need to come back to the room." No answer. I pushed the door open. The bathroom was silent. Empty. Not even a backpack left behind. I had no choice. I turned and hustled back toward the classroom. The hallways felt different now. Heavy. Watchful. I got back inside and locked the door, heart pounding. 10 minutes crawled by. Every creak of the old building made me flinch. Then, a sound. Something shifted in the classroom. A faint scrape. I scanned the room. Nothing. I stood, listened, then heard it again. A whisper of movement. That's when I saw someone. Something crouched behind a desk in the back of the room. Not one of the kids. Too tall. Too still. My voice cracked. "Who's there?" The figure rose. It wasn't a student. A man. A total stranger. Dressed in dark clothes. Unshaven. Eyes empty. I didn't wait. I ran. Out the door, down the hall. My legs barely kept up with my racing thoughts. I slammed on the nearest classroom door, breathless. A teacher opened it. One look at my face, and they knew something was wrong. I just saw someone. Someone not supposed to be here in my room. The school went into a second wave of chaos. Cops swarmed in minutes. The man was the intruder. He had somehow slipped inside the school. And while I was looking for my students, crept into my classroom. The kids? They were fine. They ducked into another room when the lockdown started. But me? I needed days to sleep again. I still don't know what he wanted, or what would have happened if I hadn't run. I just know I'll never forget his eye. It was a regular day in my freshman year of high school. The kind of day that begins with yawns in history class and ends with counting down the minutes until lunch. I was halfway through 3rd period, slouched in my chair, half listening to Miss Watterson drone on, when the classroom door creaked open. A student assistant from the office stepped in, holding a pass. She handed it to Mr. Watterson, who scanned it with casual indifference, and then looked straight at me. "Looks like you've got an appointment. See you later, pal." he said, handing me both the pass and the homework. I blinked. Appointment? I wasn't aware of any, and my mom hadn't said a word this morning. Still, the pass said mom and noted a pickup at 10:30 a.m. The writing seemed normal. Nothing screamed fake, so I shrugged it off. A surprise dentist trip, maybe. The halls were empty as I walked to the side entrance. Quiet, almost too quiet. A silver minivan idled in the lot, but it wasn't my mom's. Wrong model, wrong color. I paused, hesitating. The passenger window rolled down with a woman I'd never seen before, leaned over and called out, "Hey, I'm here to pick you up. Your mom asked me to. She had something come up." Instant dread crawled up my spine. I didn't know her. "How do you know my mom?" I asked, my voice dry. "We're old friends," she said, too quickly. Every instinct screamed at me not to go. "I think I'll wait for her," I said, and turned to re-enter the school. The doors were locked. Panic set in as I turned back. The van's side door slid open. A man I hadn't noticed inside stepped out. He began walking, advancing towards me. I ran around the corner, past the empty parking spots, up the main steps, heart pounding, lungs burning. I reached the front entrance and burst through into the school. Inside, the receptionist behind the glass barely looked up before asking for my student ID. I fumbled it out, trying to explain what just happened, but the words tangled up in fear and confusion. She blinked, unsure what to make of it, and wrote me a pass to return to class. 15 minutes later, I re-entered Mr. Watterson's classroom. Heads turned, whispers buzzed. "Back so soon?" he asked. "Yes. Mix up," I muttered. I tried to forget about it, tried to move on, but the day wasn't done with me. In English class, a phone rang. My teacher picked it up, nodded slowly, and hung up with a frown. "We're going into lockdown. This is not a drill." For 30 minutes we sat in silence. Later we learned a man had forced his way into the school, ignored the front desk lady and vanished inside. They found him hiding in a bathroom near my locker. It was the man from the van. To this day I don't know how they knew my name, how they got that note past the school, or what they wanted. But they almost had me, and that's what haunts me most.